Hey guys, Drew here. These days, there are dozens and dozens of different options to get that chainsaw tone that us metalheads hold near and dear to our hearts. But recently, there's been one pedal that has entered the market that claims to bulldoze the rest of the competition. The pedal in question comes from what is said to be one of the originators of the boutique HM2 craze of the last 10 years or so. The pedal I'm talking about is the Trendkiller from Void Manufacturing. Let's find out if this pedal is really all that it's cracked up to be. Stick around, you're not gonna wanna miss this one. Alright guys, let's get into this video. So before we do a full knob tweak of every single knob on this pedal and do a comparison to a couple other chainsaw pedals, I want to talk a little bit about the history of the HM2 and how it became popular. For anybody out there that doesn't know anything about this, we'll just cover that really quick right now. In 1983, Boss released a pedal called the HM2, and one of the early adopters of all people was David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. He actually used it for his lead sound. And I actually have another video covering HM2 history in much more detail, and I'll put a link in the description below so you can check that out. After that time period, in the early 90s, Swedish death metal bands called Entombed and Dismember started to use the HM2 in their guitar sound. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. Drew from the future here. I realized that the first time I recorded the history of the HM2, I was a little haphazardous with the history, so I wanted to just really quick just make sure I'm covering that correctly. So the HM2 was first used at Sunlight Studios by Entombed's producer, Thomas Skogsberg, when they were recording Left Hand Path, and I think because of the success of that record and the sound on that record, other bands from the Swedish death metal Big Four started to use the HM2 as well, and the Big Four would be Entombed, Dismember, Grave, and Unleashed. Those are the four bands that helped create that Swedish death metal sound, and then they would go on to tour in the United States in the 90s, and guys like Kurt Ballou started to check out those bands and kind of get influenced by that sound. I'll put a link in the description to two really great articles where they break down pretty much every detail of the history of the HM2 and all of the pedal builders that are kind of involved in this movement. So that is right below, but let's jump back into all of my pre-recorded stuff here. Here we go. In the death metal world in the early 90s, probably until about the mid-90s when nu metal came onto the scene, that HM2 sound could be heard on several different records. Kind of went away for a while, probably because of like emo and screamo and all the other kind of music that was happening in the later 90s and early 2000s. Sometime around 2012 or 13, bands like Nails and Gatecreeper began using that HM2 sound on their pedal boards. And I actually have a memory of seeing Gatecreeper in 2013. Before the show, their guitar player Eric Wagner was setting up his rig, and I noticed that he had this very scary looking pedal on his pedal board called a Left Hand Wrath. And I was very curious about that pedal because it looked like some type of military device, and I had never seen anything like it before. Later on, when they actually played their set, I was blown away by just the sound, that nasal, harsh, grinding guitar tone, and Gatecreeper was killer at that show. It was a little tiny show at this place called Cafe Coco in Nashville. And I actually, funny enough, I have a poster from that show. It looks like this. And this is a Hatch Show print from that show, and it's a dear memory to me. 2015 is actually when that show happened, a little bit later than I remember. But anyway, this poster is from that show. It's pretty cool. That show was amazing to me. It put an imprint of the HM2 sound in my mind that I love that this poster hangs on my wall to this day. Fast forward to 2024, and the HM2 is a popular choice for metal guitar tones, and pedal builders from boutique to more inexpensive pedal makers are making HM2 clones and different variations of that circuit in mass. And to me, one of the originators of that was Lone Wolf Audio. To my memory, Lone Wolf Audio was like the first pedal builder that I could think of or that I was aware of that did HM2 style pedal. I know Dunwich Amplification also had a pedal that came out around that time, 2013, around that point. All that to say, Joe kind of found his footing in the effects pedal world making HM2 style pedals, and I think they're great. They sound awesome. They do what they're supposed to do. I've had very little problems with the Lone Wolf Audio pedals that I've had. They've always worked for me. Taken them on tour before, and they've been great. Okay, so all that to say, let's talk about what the Trendkiller is. So Joe says that the Trendkiller is not just another chainsaw pedal. It's a mighty distortion pedal with some really intense mid-range frequency options built into it. And there's a lot of tone shaping and customization that the guitar player can kind of mess around with to create their own sound with this. And, Joe says that this is the pedal that's going to crush all of the other HM2 pedals out there. So in a little bit here, we're going to find out if that's true. So real quick, let me provide a brief list of features that I think set the Trendkiller apart from any other HM2 pedal out there. There's a lower noise design on the front end. There's more gain on tap. This pedal is fully focused on the 900 to 1100 hertz range for that chainsaw setting. There is a multi-mode mid peak, which is right here, and you can add or subtract that and use that on its own with other distortion pedals, or you can use it with the distortion that's built into this pedal already. On the Void Manufacturing website, it says that the mid-range section of this pedal was modeled after the SECK or SEC 1882 channel strip. So that's an old mixer that a lot of people like to mix on because of how quiet it is. But what that does is add even more mid-range, and he took the Vario Q peak control from the SEC 1882 board and put that right here. Let's see, there's 6-mode clipping, which is nice. If you have different pickups in your guitars or a different amp, the clipping mode can really impact how this pedal interacts with your amplifier and your guitar. So it's nice to have some different clipping options on this pedal as well. The other thing that you can do with the Trendkiller is use it as a preamp. So if you want to bypass your amplifier's preamp section and use this instead, that is another option for you as well. What I really love about this pedal is it's so much more than just a chainsaw pedal. You can use it as a regular distortion pedal and get some different sounds that way. You can run it into the clean channel of your amp. You can run it through the back of your amp in the effects loop, or you can run it in conjunction with your already distorted amp, which will do all of those things here in just a moment. As you can see, there's a lot of knobs and features and rotary dials on this pedal that allow you to really make your own guitar sound. And that's one of the things that I love about Void Manufacturing and Lone Wolf pedals is I can tweak and I can make a sound that's all my own with this pedal that could be totally different from another person that has this exact pedal. And I just think that's really cool. Another thing to keep in mind with Void Manufacturing pedals is the knobs and controls are very interactive with each other. So depending on how you have like this mid knob set, for example, is drastically going to impact what these other controls do. To me, it's like Inception. It's like a pedal within a pedal when you buy something like this, and I just think that's really cool. All right, so what we're gonna do next is plug the Trendkiller into my Mesa Boogie JP2C. We're gonna start off on the clean channel, and then we're gonna move to the dirty channel, and then we're gonna experiment by putting it side by side with a Left Hand Wrath Deluxe and a Boss HM2 Waza. Let's dive into that right now. Guys, thank you so much for checking out this video on the Void Manufacturing Trendkiller. I'd love to hear what you thought of this pedal. Did you like the way that it sounded? Also, let me know what chainsaw pedal you're using in your rig. I'd also love to hear from you guys about the bands that you play in and the music that you make. You know, feel free to drop some links in the description below if you have a chainsaw sound in your band, or maybe you have another cool distortion sound that you want to share with everybody. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on not only the Trendkiller, but your music, your rig. I love talking to you guys about gear and stuff like that. If you guys enjoyed this video and you like what I do on this channel, I'd love for you to like this video, subscribe, and turn the notifications on. That stuff really helps this channel grow. I'd love to get more pedals and more music out to you guys, and I greatly appreciate you in advance. Once again, you guys, thank you so much for checking out this video, and wherever you're at in the world today, take care of yourself, enjoy life, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.